Alright guys, welcome back to another episode of Just Guidance Bite. As promised, the next video I told you we're going to see is going to be me installing this audio equipment. Still laid out here on my trusty little workbench. We're going to get ready to start pulling this bike apart to get all this audio stuff installed. Okay guys, you can tell I have already taken off my back wing. I took off the front cap already. Sorry I didn't show you the process. Like I said, there's tons of videos out there, guys, showing you how to do this process. But you have 3 screws up here where your windshield mounts, and then on the back side you have 4 screws. One here. You also have one right in here, and then you have 2 more over there. So I didn't show you guys that process. This is what my bike looks like now. I have a Scar 400 watt amp 4-channel. I have 2 DS18s in my speaker pods. So I'm going to pull this entire unit off. You got 2 screws here for your turn signals. You're going to take those 2 screws off. This plate is going to come off. These turn signals are going to come off. And then once you get those 4 screws out, you have 2 on each side. So once you take those 4 screws off, the entire unit will be able to lean forward, disconnect all your connections that's going back there to the bike, to your ECM. You're gonna, once you get all those disconnected, most of them are right here at your head unit. So you're gonna get all these, your antenna, your USB, you're gonna get all these things disconnected, your turn signals, your handlebar controls, get all that stuff disconnected. I'm not gonna go through step-by-step process because that would be a very, very lengthy process. I'm gonna get it all pulled off. I'm gonna get it on my bench. And then, so guys, this is one of the plugs I was talking about right here. Then you're gonna have a screw down in here. You're gonna have a screw right here. If you can see it, you're gonna have a screw here, and we're gonna have another screw right here. So those are the 3 screws on the outer perimeter of the speaker pod. Then you're gonna have 2 screws on the inside where your radio is mounted to, where I have my amp mounted. I'll show you how I mounted my amp. But you have 2 more screws here, and you're gonna have, it's gonna be a replica on both sides. Just taking those screws off, and like I said, I take my vent off these 2 screws up top. I already taken one out, but you know, we get those 2 screws taken out, get these plugs out, and we have all of this stuff out the way. All right, guys, now that we got that speaker pod off, I'm gonna go ahead and remove these 3 screws so I can install my new horn grill. Okay. This is my horn. This is my grill. I'm gonna get this off, get it out the way. I do love having that Harley symbol on my grill. I'm gonna lose that, but guess what? I'm gonna gain some volume. As I was telling you before, with these grills, when you look at them, you have a long, 2 short mountain holes. Okay guys, when installing these grills, you have 1 long and 2 short mounting holes. It is a pretty nice fit. It mounts right up if you put it in the right spot. If you don't mount it up correctly, the holes will not line up. Okay, now that I have those grills on there, some of you be looking at this wire and be a little concerned. This wire is pretty thin. So when I mount it to my speaker pod, I'm gonna have just barely enough room for this wire to fit through there. But it's gonna fit through there. It's gonna be minimum touching. But you will be able to get this wire, get your speaker and speaker pod back on there. You may have to apply just a tad bit of pressure to get the pod all the way down to get everything compressed and in place. But you will not damage this wire, according to American Hardback. So once you reinstall, you're not going to damage this wire. So we're going to go ahead and get the speaker removed out the pod, and then we're going to get it reinstalled. All right. So these DS18s, on the side of them, they say woofer. So I thought I would get more bass out of them. And these speakers do pump a lot of bass. There's some great speakers. Just compare apples to apples. Like I said, here you have a small gasket here. It is a rubber gasket. It's really small compared to the Diamond Audio. It has a full gasket around the ring. The rest of the surface is just aluminum, carbon fiber. It's been protected. You have a rubber seal or rubber boot around your cone. Also in here by your tweeter, your horn, you have another rubber boot. And so this is a really good speaker. Smaller magnet, and it doesn't have the vent such as the Diamond Audio to allow the heat to get out. This is a 3-ohm speaker. This is a 4-ohm. Both of them are 6.5. This magnet on this one is much larger. This one is much smaller, but it still is a great speaker. It's a powerful speaker. It really thumps, guys. So if you just want to go for a cheaper route, I spent around $89 for the DS18s. Like I said, they were great speakers. I loved them. I enjoyed them. You know, pretty stout aluminum case that it's in. It's not in plastic like some speakers are, that real thin aluminum or sheet metal that they. So this was a pretty sturdy case. I may add some lures to my bike one day and put these on as lures. I don't know yet. I don't know what my plans are for these, but they're still in great condition and they're really good speakers. All right, guys, something I should note. Yeah, I thought I wasn't gonna have to do any modifications to my pod, but I actually did. I had to cut a small section out right here. I don't know if you can see that slight little lip. I had to cut a small little section out here and over here to get that pod to sit down nice and flush. It wasn't much, as you can see here. Just went the angle of it, just ran my blade right in there. Probably cut off 1/10 of an inch. Just enough to get my speaker pod to sit flush. These screw holes, there's nothing going in them, so it's just part of the cross member of the box to make the box more sturdy. So with that being said, you can take out that little small section and you're not going to really hurt the integrity of the box. But now that I've done that, because my speaker was raised on one side, so now that I've done that, it fits nice and perfect on there. So another little side note, some guys never took the pod apart, but if you flip this pod over, you have one screw that goes here, and then you have 4 screws in the back. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you go in, you take those 4 screws out, and then the one on the side. There's 5 screws. You remove those 5, it allows you to separate this pod to where you can get off in there easier to grind that lip piece off. And once you get it grinded off, as you can see, the pod went back together nice. All right, guys. So now that I got the fairing back on, so the next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna get this wire loom open. We're gonna remove our old battery cable and we're gonna install a new one. So I'm gonna take this tape off right here. It's 3 pieces of tape. A lot of guys like to zip tie theirs. Me personally, I just like to go in and remove the wire. grab a screwdriver. So I just go in and I remove that tape and I pop this trowel open. Some guys run zip ties on it once they take it off. I just reuse the tape that's already on it. It's still pretty tacky. Open it up and have one right up here in the front. Close that joker on there. So I'm gonna get that open up enough to remove. Okay. Alright guys, now that you got that shroud removed, you can go in. This is my old cable, my old battery cable. It was from Scar Audio. It's supposed to be OFC, which is oxygen-free cable. And remove that one to the side. Then you're gonna install the new cable. Right up front, the way I run my cable, it is a little bracket right here. I run my cable right through that bracket. And then I pull it forward to where I have more than enough slack up front, because when you're riding your bike, you know you're gonna turn left and right. So I wanna have enough cable to where I can turn both ways and not put any strain on the cable. So before I get this installed, I'm gonna get this taken apart and on both sides, because what I like to do before I install my battery cable, I like to remove my fuse. So before I get this connected to the battery, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna take these two, at least one of them off, and separate the battery cable. Then, once I have all my connections made, I'm gonna reconnect this fuse. So the reason I do it is to keep from blowing the fuse. If I touch something or I ground my positive cable out, I don't wanna pop that fuse. So I keep it disconnected until I get everything hooked up. And once it's all hooked up, that's when I go and reconnect that fuse. So I'm not gonna disconnect it right now because I'm still in the process of running everything, just to get everything tightened up. And once I have everything in the place I want it, then and only then will I disconnect it and connect it to the battery. So right now I'm not worried about the power and all that stuff. I'm just worried about making sure I have enough length to reach the back of the bike. All right, now guys, so here, all I'm gonna do here is just gonna test fit my amp. So I'm gonna basically sit it up on top of this radio plate just to see how much room I have and how much clearance I have. Okay, so just looking at the placement of it, it fits in there perfect. So no modifications needed to my radio deck. Some guys put a piece of Lexan under there, Lexan. Some guys buy amp bracket to raise it up some. Me personally, the way I'm looking at it, I may just Velcro it down right here, or I may go get some Lexan, raise it up just enough to get it off the actual radio deck, and sit it on top of it and screw into there. But as of right now, I'm comfortable and happy where this is sitting. So if I was to Velcro it down, it's sitting there nice and snug. I have a room at the back to where it's not compressing my wires for my gauges. It's also have this lip. It's sitting right behind this lip. So it's pressed right up against that lip. So it's a nice snug fit. So if I Velcro this down, and guys, it's not gonna go anywhere. And in my test fitting process, I'm gonna put the fairing back on. I'm gonna trial and error where I can put this DSR1. I have this on my bike, one, because I hadn't flashed my radio yet. I'm still under warranty. I know some shops say they will void your electrical warranty if you flash your radio, and then some shops say they won't. Me personally, while I'm still under warranty, I'm gonna play it safe. So I'm gonna continue to run my DSR1 or DSP, as most guys call it. So I'm gonna test fit it, see where I want to place it up here. I'm pretty sure it will fit. When I put my vent up, then I get an accurate look at where it could not fit. All right, guys. Now I'm gonna set the gains on my amp. Like I said before, my amp does have a clipping light, which you would see turn on here. All I'm doing with my DD1 is just verifying that both of them are gonna turn on around the same time. So we're gonna start adjusting the gains on my front channel. Just gonna slowly turn it up, and we're gonna watch for distortion. Okay, there we go. Both lights turn on at the same time. Gonna slowly bag it off until both lights turn off. So with the Diamond Audio, I still have a slight blue illumination on my light. But if I connect it, or if I turn the amp up just a little bit, then it fully illuminates. So I bag it off just enough to get that light to turn off. And it's still slightly on. The DD1 say I don't have any more distortion, but Diamond Audio say I still have distortion, which is clipping. So with that being said, get that negative cable plugged back in. So we have power. All right, so now I want to cooperate. Then we're going to do the same thing on our rear channel. Clipping light turns on. Bag it off till the light turns off. All right, it didn't turn on here because we're not connected to the rear channels right now. We're only connected to the front. So with that being said, the DD1 is pretty accurate and the Diamond Audio is pretty accurate. So they're both turning on around the same time. One thing about the Diamond Audio, it seems as if it has a pre-light where it's telling you it's about to start clipping. I'm gonna just bag mine off until the light is completely off. That is where my gain is gonna be set. My gains are set and I am done. So the next thing you see me do, I'll be hooking up the speakers. I have them ran and everything will be connected and we'll go on to the next phase. All right, guys. I have my CC1 crossover calibrator connected to my amp. This is going to help me set the crossover on my 6.5. I want to set my 6.5 to 125 hertz. And then I'm going to set my horns to maybe 200 hertz. All right, when I'm starting out, I want to have my amp in full range mode. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to set my amp to full range mode. I'm going to turn on my CC1. Once I turn it on, I'm going to play a 125 hertz track. While doing so, I'm going to turn my volume up until I get a signal light on my CC1. If I continue to turn it up, I should get a red signal light. I'm going to turn it down until that red light turns off and I get a solid green light. Next, once I have my solid green light, I'm going to tell the CC1 to read, which it puts it in calibration mode. I'm going to go here to my crossover, which is going to be on my front channel. Just going to slowly turn it up. And as I turn it up, I'm going to watch for that calibrated light to turn on. Once that light turns on and stays on, then I will have successfully set my crossovers to 125 hertz. Okay, guys, I forgot to do one thing. Forgot to set to my high pass filter. All right, so now that I set it to my high pass filter, I'm going to bag it off because now the calibration light is saying turn it up or turn it down. So just slowly adjust it. Very minute turns. We're trying to get a solid blue light. So now that I have that solid blue light, that tells me that my system is now calibrated at 125 hertz. So I have my 6.5 set to 125 hertz. Then I'm going to go on and I'm going to set my horns to 200 hertz. My switch over to high pass. And then I'm going to slowly start turning up my signal until I am calibrated. It's telling me to turn my signal up, 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 up. So we're going to adjust till we get that solid blue. Now we have a solid blue. Now that we have a solid blue light, now my crossovers are set for my front 6.5s, also my front horn as well. So I have 200 hertz going to my horns and I have 125 hertz going to my 6.5. The reason I picked these two settings was because on the box it told me my hertz can range from this number to this number. And so I picked the number in between. Also, the CC1 crossover calibrated, it comes with a book and it actually simplifies things for you and tell you, hey, 6.5s, you should set it around 125 hertz. That's why I picked that. And then also the horns, they could be set at 200 hertz. So that's why I picked that signal. So now that I have my crossover set, now we're going to go ahead on and get the speakers installed. All right, guys, I got everything on here connected. The system is up and running. I'm going to find out what music I can play for you guys. And then that way you guys get a full sound of what this system sounds like. I have the 6.5 bridge, so they're getting 200 watts a piece. And that is 400 watts when it's bridged, 200 watts separated amongst two speakers. The 6.5s are on their own. The tweezers are on their own separate channel. I know you guys see the little wing nut here. I'm gonna go on buy another butt connector and get that connected. That is my remote wire coming from my 12-volt source and also from my DSP. And it's running up to my amp. But everything else is tightened up, nice and tight. The plug that's not plugged up will be my headlight. But everything else is nice, tight, and it's sealed up. I wrapped tape around everything to keep all my exposed wires from being exposed. And the system, like I said, I test played some music, different genres, and it sounded great. But I just want to get some music that I can play for you guys that would not be copyright. I'm going to zoom out here so you guys can get a better view of everything. And as you can tell, it's on there. It's done. So, like I said, it looks great from the front. I'm going to get some music on it, playing here in a bit. It's going to sound awesome. You guys are going to love it. I love it personally.
Monkey.
All right, guys, I'm gonna give you one more song. This is just so you guys just can hear the clarity of the music. Like I said, I did everything myself, so none of it is super loud. You're not gonna see how far you can hear it away from the bike. As you can tell, just sitting here, the system is pretty loud and everything is crystal clear. Um, there again, like I said, you're not gonna get how far I am away from the bike. All right, that's on volume 1. It's just at 3 right now. We're at 5.
This is crazy, that music.
All right, guys, that was just at 5. Actually, I went up to 6. The volume on the bike, I think, goes up to like 14. So that's just at 6. That's not even at the halfway point. One more to put it at the halfway point. Once you get up to about 8, 9, the sound is really loud. You start hitting 10, it starts to distort. I have not flashed my radio yet. I am running, I am running a Rockford processor. So my radio has not been flashed. So maybe if I get it flashed, I probably can go up even higher. But for now, I just keep it right around 6, 7 when I'm riding.